Happy New Year and welcome. I'm Victor Matthias. On the first edition of Channels Beam, we will be focusing on three sectors that always made the headlines in the year 2016, talking about the war against corruption, security, and the economy. But before we get into that analysis, let's take a look at the social media trends in the past week.
This hashtag trended the world over as people wished friends and family good tidings in the new year, while some set personal goals and listed aspirations on their checklist for the year.
Now straight to what we will be discussing on the program today. We are joined by Ben Cosmos from Malaysia, Shegun Dada from Abuja, Nigeria, and Olumuyiwa Amao from Dunedin in New Zealand. Well, to kickstart this conversation, let's begin with the president's war against corruption.
It's a matter of perception and opinion as to if the anti-corruption fight of Mr. President is decided or not. But the bottom line remains that less than 3 years ago, the EFCC, that has become the biggest fear of all public officers, both serving and retired, was just a barking dog at most. They couldn't do anything. They were, subdued. And most of the agencies' stronger operatives were taken out. Most of the cases were trapped in court. And, it was a free day for everybody. But right now, we are seeing a situation whereby there's an eye watching everybody, watching the public officers. Citizens are also doing their part, calling the attention of public officers to the attention of anti-corruption agencies to public officers that are living above their means. We have seen for the first time in a very, very long time, even before when EFCC was in its true state under Olusegun Obasanjo, we have a situation where the EFCC is going at people without any recourse to sacred horses or some untouchables. Now, most of the people who have argued that the anti-corruption fight is decided only want to see what they want to see. There are so many members of the APC who are guests of the EFCC in one way or the other that have been arrested, or that are currently being prosecuted, or are currently being investigated, or petitions against them are being looked at. So the bottom line of the matter remains that, let's keep looking at it. But at the end of the day, those that are being prosecuted, are they suspected for anti-corruption or for corruption, or are they just being witch hunted? The bottom line is, if you're not a witch, you cannot be witch hunted.
Well, to start with, I think this government has made very significant attempts to show that it's no longer going to be business as usual. We must commend them for doing that. We must commend them for taking the battle to where other previous governments have dreaded. Colleagues have mentioned the fight in the anti-corruption fight in the judiciary. Colleagues have mentioned the anti-corruption fight on the political turf. I think that's highly commendable, and we must all applaud that. But that said, I'm not impressed at the way the anti-corruption agencies have been going about this fight in itself. We have seen instances where members of this ruling party, and by this ruling party I mean the APC-led government, fingered to have a few cases to answer, and rather than we seeing the kind of alacrity, or if you like, the kind of swift response that this government had demonstrated in the cases of anti-corruption allegations involving people who aren't part of the APC, we've seen this government work so lukewarmly, so slowly, so calmly into reacting to these allegations. And I'll give you two particular instances. The chief of staff to the president, Abba Kyari, has had a few corruption allegations, very weighty allegations against him in this outgoing year. And this presidency has turned their ears on those allegations. We have also seen the man who is the SGF of the Federation, Babacharo Lawal, who we've seen the Senate or Dino Malaye raising a few dusts against some of the projects or the contracts that were executed for the Northeast, and with, in some instances, allegations that were backed up with evidences. Whether those evidences were genuine enough is not the case. What is the case is, as I would expect, and as it happens in other normal crimes, when you do have such very serious issues leveled against you, courtesy demands. I mean, it's just right for you to take that honorable step of stepping down momentarily while the investigation goes on. But that hasn't been the case.
The proceeds of the corruption, the fight against corruption, some of the monies that have been repatriated, most of these monies are still subject to court litigations due to court process. Some of these cases are still in court, and at the end of the day, there's no way that these things will happen, and at the end of the day, the Nigerian people will not get a report from the anti-corruption agencies before they call a victory for maybe any of the anti-corruption wars. Again, we are always of the opinion that the president should do things at the time of the public uproar. But the truth of the matter is that if one thing is consistent about this president, he has shown that it is very, very easy to spring any allegation against anybody. Most of these people that are being being prosecuted now in the year 2016, for almost 6 months, 7 months after this administration got into office, these people were still free. Most of these guys were still going about. So we were even prosecuting that they were going to run for offices in the next election. But what most Nigerians expected was, immediately the president got into office, he would start picking these people off the streets. That didn't happen. There has been a methodological approach towards this fight against corruption. These guys were picked up 9 months, some 1 year after this government had got in there. That would tell you that regardless of suspicion towards these people, there was investigation. And then when this investigation had got into a crucial stage, these guys were brought in, and then these allegations were made. So if you expect that the president should, maybe open Sahara reporters and look at an allegation against the minister, and then against the chief of staff or the SGF, and then based on what we see or what the whole public is saying, make his decision based on that. No, I don't think that he would have anybody left working with him. Let us not forget that these people that are being accused, that are inside the president's cabinet, were people that were selected by the president because the president trusted them. So let us accept that the president, they deserve the benefit of the doubt. But one thing is certain, that the president will not let these things go without due conclusion. So what we need to do more right now is to continue to encourage this administration not to rest in its efforts to fight this anti-corruption fight to a total standstill.
And I know, and if you say that the president is somehow lopsided, I will ask you how. It's true that some people have been pointed, some fingers have been pointed, but I think the EFCC is receiving a lot of appeal, receiving a lot of petition against these people, and they are doing some on the jobs to make sure that they don't go after the wrong person. Because if they go after the wrong person, at the end of the day, it's going to bounce on them. The person will take them to court, and he will fight for labor. She will fight for labor. So I think they're just taking their time. But at least I'm very glad that something is happening. So you just have to start from somewhere. That is what the president has done. It doesn't matter if the person is a PDP member or an ex-PDP member or is an APC member or an ex-APC member, but we just have to start from somewhere, which the president has done. And secondly, EFCC needs funding. They need a lot of funding. You need funding to fight corruption. You need training, forensic training. I don't think we even have a forensic lab in the whole country. We need a lot of these things. We need good people, technical people. I mean, girl, you don't have to fight. Investigation has got beyond just pen and paper. You need equipment. You need a lot of things involved. Okay. So all I'm saying is, let there be an increased funding for the EFCC, IPC, ICPC, and the rest, and the DSS. Increase their funding, they will do more.
Well, let's switch lanes and take a look at another sector which was also on the front pages, the economy. Muyiwa, what will you say it was like in the past year for you?
I think that while you would say that it's not the making of this government 100%, but what has this government done to change the story? Between the Minister for Finance and the CBN governor, you have a lot of wide gap in between them. There is poor coordination of policies. How do you run the country like that? So I think that where we are now, as much as it isn't 100% or the making of this government, we are where we are now because this government has been particularly clueless when it comes to the economy. You saw what Donald Trump, the incoming president of America, is doing now. People thought, or I thought Donald Trump would probably be a comedian. To be honest, I've been impressed so far by what he's done in terms of the people he's assembled. He's trying to gather what he thinks or who he thinks or those he thinks are the best hands for him to do the job. What do we have in Nigeria? And the Emefiele who does not agree with the fiscal policies, and the woman who is the finance minister who doesn't agree with the monetary policies. How then do you want the economy to move forward? And I must be very candid. If things are not done the way they should be done, I see a very bleak 2017 economy-wise for Nigeria. This budget that we have seen in terms of the new budget that's been presented in the National Assembly does not look like a budget that can build us out of this mess. I agree, recession is not something you come out from in 1 year, but we need to see urgent or concrete steps towards making us believe that we can actually come out from this recession. Unfortunately, I cannot see that happening now. Unfortunately, also, I don't also understand what the president thinks about the economy. I don't think he's convinced that things are in a very bad state. I think he feels that this is an utopian state where Nigerians won't just like to complain because we are used to complaining. That's not the case, unfortunately. And I hope that somebody somewhere listens and try and see if there could be a coordination between our fiscal policies and our monetary policies so that Nigerians at least can be relieved.
If this present administration is able enough, is capable enough to manage it very well, it will be a very good opportunity for us as a nation to have more entrepreneurs on board. We'll be able to have more rich men, more rich Nigerians who will come and take over part of some of these companies that have left Nigeria over since this thing started, because some of the foreign companies complain that they cannot repatriate their profit and all that because of the exchange rate, and these companies are gone. Example is like I think the British airline. So all we need to do is to make sure that we can manage this recession very well. At the end of this recession, we will have more entrepreneurs. Our own local Nigerians will take over the footsteps these people have left and take over their businesses. By the time we are fully out of recession, this company, by the time they come back, they will be looking for a way to compete with other people in the sector. I think all we need to do is good management. The president has shown his commitment in the fight against insurgencies and insecurity. In terms of security, I was calling him high. He has done well, and I believe he's doing more. I think the same thing you should do is to assemble some set of good economic experts who will sit down and manage the situation, discuss the way forward for this country, know how to manage our economic situation, bring down the high cost of living, because right now the high cost of living is too much. It's too much that you just can't even begin to imagine what people are passing through. People are losing their job day by day. People are complaining lack of funds, no money. For God's sake, it is not the budget that will even take us out of recession. It is the good economic plans you have that will take us out of recession. Budget is every year we've been saying that it's not the budget that will take us out, but the policies you have on board, how you can help your local farmers, our local industries to come on board again, come back to life in terms of the transport sector, in terms of the agricultural sector, in terms of the mines and steel and all that sector, and all the sectors that pumps in money, generates revenue to the government, in terms of our local internally generated revenue and all that. I think if the government should have good economic experts, assemble them, backdoor on whatever way you can, have good economic policy, put the exchange rate, manage it very well. At the end of the day, we all will be smiling. This thing will last forever, but it all depends on the approach, the manner of approach, how the president and his team are able to manage this recession. That is the main important thing, and that is what I hope to see in 2017, that by the end of this recession, we will have more entrepreneurs more than ever before, new people coming to play in the telecom sector, in the oil and gas sector, in the transportation sector, in the airline industries. That is what I want to see.